Hello and thank you for joining the fifth and final YouTube video on how to model multifamily buildings in Energy Pro. In this last video we're going to go over how to run calculations and look at reports with Energy Pro. So by now you should already have your building model or building tree already assembled with systems, domestic hot water systems, HVAC systems, and as well as the assemblies for our walls, our floor, and our roof. So you can see I have our building tree. It's 1945 vintage. So now that we have everything built in, we're going to go over to this calculations button here. And in the calculation section we see a variety of different calculations that we can run with Energy Pro. So the first calculation is the loads calculation, and that will basically give us a load, heating and cooling loads for each of our building level zones. The second calculation is the Res Title 24 Performance, which will give us a compliance margin. The Res Green Point Rated give us a Green Point Rated score given the vintage of the building. The Res CalCerts module will give you a home energy reporting score, or HER score, and the Res Performance module will give us a calculation given the baseline and alternatives, which we'll go into in a minute. The Y-Green is for financing in certain counties, not all. So if you're in a county that has Y-Green financing, you can use Energy Pro to help assist that. The non-res Title 24 Prescriptive Performance, Title 24 Lead, and 90.1 modules we won't be going into, but we will go into the non-res performance module for high-rise residential buildings. So let's first understand that we are in the calculation section, and in this section we will see an options and an alternatives tab. The options tab will give us the option to run our upgrades or what we choose for energy efficient measures. If we want to see each individual measure, if we want to see how they work with the whole building. And this is almost a duplicate of the same calculation. So once what we're going to choose is click the Run Measures Combined Together for both our Residential Performance module and our Green Point Rated module. These are the two modules we're going to look into for now. For calculations, we'll go into the non-res following. So after we have the radio selected for Run Measures Combined Together, we're going to the Alternatives tab, and then we're going to select our upgrades. So in this example I have selected a roof upgrade, a wall upgrade, window film, an HVAC system, which is a mini split Fujitsu variable refrigerant flow system, heat pump, Energy Star refrigerators, and high efficacy indoor and outdoor lighting. The outdoor lighting would be on a sensor, and a new domestic hot water tank. And to change these alternatives, you will just go ahead and click this magnifying glass here, or this section, and we'll get a library similar to how we built our building tree, and we're going to select the upgrade. Preferably the upgrade should be per your jurisdiction's energy code compliance, so make sure you're picking the correct upgrades. So we're going to go ahead, and after we choose which upgrades we want, going to go ahead and hit the Calculate button and give Energy Pro a second to. Okay, once Energy Pro has finished our calculations, we can see a pretty matrix that's in the bottom of our screen here with the Residential Performance Calculation tab and the Residential Green Point Rated tab here. So these are our two calculations that we ran. The warnings will just give us any specific warnings related to our building model, and most of the time these are related to Title 24 calculations, so we can ignore those. And the same thing with the HERS measures, they're related to either the Title 24 or the Res CalCerts module. So we can ignore those two tabs and just go straight to our Residential Performance or our Green Point Rated, depending on the calculation we are looking for. So Once we've ran the calculations, you can see a variety of rows and columns. Each row will give us our upgrade that we chose from the above, and the test-in will give us the baseline or our building model tree, and each of the columns is a different load. So you can see how each upgrade will affect each end use or each load. So as you can see here, we have a total of 60.03 for our site saving, our site usage. And once we decide to do all our energy efficiency improvements, you can see that we drop down to 38.13. So this is saying we have a 36.5% improvement in our calculations or savings from site use. And if we go to the Greenpoint Rated tab, we can see here that we have our Greenpoint Rated Vintage home here, which is based on the year of the building. And this is what our building tested in as. And this number here is the number we want to try to reach or beat. And as you can see here, with all the upgrades, you're able to reduce the load down to, or get the Greenpoint Rated target score down to 111. So it passes for Greenpoint Rated existing home, or complies, should I say. So that's one method of reading calculations. And so let's go ahead and look at our reports. So we're going to go into the reports button here, and we're going to choose for the residential performance the Econ 2 report here and hit the print preview. And what we'll get is we'll get a report from Energy Pro that shows us the energy use of the building, the savings for the building. So you can see here, we're looking for our TDV savings. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at so we're going to go ahead and look at a non-residential performance calculation next. So next, in this example, I went ahead and changed our low-rise residential into a high-rise residential building by making it 4 floors. So when we do that, we want to make sure that our occupancy type is changed to high-rise residential living, because for some reason Energy Pro won't calculate the high-rise or the non-res calculation with the setting for this not correctly allocated. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to high-rise residential living. So our building assembly is very similar to our low-rise. The only thing is I added another story for the 4th floor. So go ahead and going into our calculations, I'm going to choose the same measures and the same options. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit calculate here. We're going to go ahead and change this to non-res before we do that. And our Greenpoint Rated also does high-rise calculations. So for high-rise residential buildings, we can use the res Greenpoint Rated or the non-res performance. And we're going to go ahead again check the resident run measures combined together for both of these calculations. And alternatives were already set, but if you have not set them according to the upgrade list that you're going to be prescribing. So we're going to hit calculate and give Energy Pro a second to run those simulations. Okay, so once Energy Pro has finished its non-residential compliance calculations, we can go ahead and look at the savings related to our upgrade. So the non-residential performance calculation is a little different, that it does not give us this site savings, but it just gives us an end use of for the TDV value or the site values. What we're going to need to do is go ahead and run the reports and see what our TDV savings is. So once again, go to the reports, unclick residential performance, close that, and open the non-residential performance. And we want the Econ 2 from that report. Oh, looks like I didn't do it correctly, so let's go ahead and rerun that calculation. Okay, let's now try to run this report once again. So once again, we click the non-residential performance and hit the Econ 2. get a print preview and voila, there we go. And we can see here we have a 24.3% TDV savings. In our low-rise example, we had a 34.5% savings. So a notable about 10% difference going from a low-rise to a high-rise building. So that takes care of our high-rise residential calculation. So another example I'm going to show as far as the report and calculations is doing a two-model approach. So this will entail modeling our baseline tree with our baseline and opening and running a model with our improvements. So I'm going to go ahead and change. Well, first let's look at our report here, and we want our baseline to get our baseline TDV here of 152.52. So you want to make a note of that as being your baseline load. And this is representative of this building tree here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a proposed upgrade with all our alternatives that we chose here, but I'm going to model that into our building tree here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it while I go ahead and do that behind the scenes. Okay, so now that we have our proposed building tree modeled with all our improvements, our 13 wall, our 38 roof, and our new water heater and HVAC system with our Fujitsu variable speed variable refrigerant flow system, we can go ahead and run the calculation and look at the same Econ 2 report. And we're going to go straight just to the TDV here, and we can see we have a 108.31. What we're going to do is do a difference calculation from our proposed and compare that to our baseline. So we have the 152.52 for our baseline and our 108.31 for our improved. So we do our calculation, do a difference for the different TDVs. Let's do it again. So 152.52 minus the 10. So we have a and divide that by our baseline. And you can see I have a 28% TDV savings. So that's if we decide to do a two model approach. So that pretty much wraps up how to do calculations and reading reports in Energy Pro. And again, there are a lot of different reports that Energy Pro can give you, but specifically we're going to be looking at the Econ 2 reports. And if you're a Greenpoint rated, we're going to be looking at the GPR1R. So let's go ahead and look at that. So looking at the GPR1R, you can see here our GPR vintage homes loads, and this is basically the total that we are saying is the vintage for the building, given a 1945 building. And this is what our building tested in as with all the improvements. And again, this is the same building, so I think something happened here with our appliance. So as you can see here, we have an improved building with this is basically our baseline building at 102, and you can see we beat the target index here. So that pretty much wraps up our video on calculations and reports in Energy Pro. Thanks for watching all 5 videos in the series, and if you have any questions, please email or call Billy Green. Thank you very much.